Live
Fresh
now.
here. Our video is live now. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Boating Tips Live, episode 31 or 30. I'm going to call it 31. And Keith, thanks for joining me once again. And today we have a special guest. We have Scott Roberton from MarineMax Clearwater, Top Gun sales executive, 28 years with the company. And Scott, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, yeah. Look forward to it. Thanks for having me.
So we'll let a couple people come in right here. You see that the viewers are starting to pour in. And guys,
Lisa.
Oh, hey, Lisa. And bring all your questions, drop them down. We see them all. And we're going to be fielding questions today. But in the meantime, we're going to be talking all things boat and yacht brokerage.
So, Scott, why don't you go ahead? We're getting people loaded up in here. Kind of what's your background and how'd you get into this business?
So I started back before MarineMax was developed with Gulfwind Marine, and they're in the Clearwater store 28 years ago, just really coming out of college. I was 22 years old, and Bill McGill, who was the previous CEO to our company, owned Gulfwind Marine and asked me at a young age to move from Jupiter, Florida over to Tampa and Clearwater area and be one of his sales guys on the floor there. And so there was 5 of us, I think, at the time there. And but it was a great opportunity. You never thought this is where we would be today when you took something on like that. And I work in the exact same store that I started in 28 years ago. So a lot to be said for that alone is the strength of the business and the company that I got lucky enough to get the opportunity to work for.
What are some of the biggest changes that you've seen, Scott, between now and then, just as far as, boats in general? What was the biggest difference that you saw back then?
Well, I mean, boats themselves, they've definitely developed in so many ways. As far as the machinery goes to the components go, a lot of it's a lot more reliable today than it used to be. The other big thing is, the cockpits in express boats. You had a lot of isinglass and canvas, and today we have hard tops and glass that's in front of the helm that goes to the hard tops. So so much of that's developed in the industry and changed it. You really can be an all-weather type boater at this point. So and it's easier to put the boats away. I think when boats become a high maintenance type item after you go out for the day or you're on a long trip, it can add a lot to it. So where the business has gone, it's given the customers the ability to go enjoy the boat and put it away in a quicker fashion.
Yeah, especially, we're talking about these enclosed fly bridges and stuff like that. Not all markets are exactly like we have in Florida, where we're pretty blessed to have a 12-month season. You get up to New England and stuff like that. You get to the Great Lakes or whatever it is. You're just going to be extending your season that much by having that ability to get out of the weather.
100%, no question. But the layouts have changed. The electronics is another big thing that's changed. Back when I started, we didn't even have GPS. We were using Loran towers out of Jacksonville. And we had big maps that we would, I would do I did my first trip ever was from Tampa to Palm Beach. And when I did that trip, we had charts that we laid out and would chart out what we're going to do each day. Radar was there, but it wasn't the what it is today. So there was no FLIR cameras, any of that kind of stuff.
No Navionics app, no automatic routing.
No, not at all, man. I mean, it's just that, and that's another part of the industry that's allowed more and more people to enter the business or enjoy this as a hobby because it's not as difficult as it used to be.
Absolutely.
So we'll dive into all things brokerage and used boats and yachts as well, but first, looks like we've got a question coming in from YouTube from David Vanderbeck. David says, what is the best advice as a first-time big boat buyer to prepare to make such a large purchase? I'm looking at the 36 Aquila in about 2 years. Anything to add to the purchase, packages, etc. What do you think about that, Scott, as a first-time big boat buyer?
Well, I think it really comes down to whether or not you want to buy something new or pre-owned. And everyone tries to establish somewhat of a budget as they go into this, especially as a first-time boat buyer. But buying a boat that's new has a lot of its benefits with warranties. And then buying something pre-owned comes in two fashions. The first fashion is we take one in trade as a company and we own it, where a customer has gone up to a larger boat. And then the second is one that's available out there in the open market, very similar to someone putting a house up for sale. That this would be a particular owner that would have us list their boat for sale, and it'd be out there for sale in the open market. So those are the two ways to kind of look at the market when you are ready in the used market, and then of course going new. But one of the big things that most people do forget about as they're looking at price only when they're looking at something pre-owned. And, a used boat, as much as a new boat, both depreciate. But, more customers get so focused, especially first-time boat buyers, are like, hey, I'm only going to buy used because it's the only way to get a good deal. Well, you have to look at cost of ownership. So each one of every time, you buy a boat, it's going to depreciate, right? And maybe your depreciation between new and used for your first year may only be 5 or 10% in a difference. And that's something you want to look at and outweigh compared to warranty. How much do you usually buy things new? Is that extra 5 or 10% worth it to you? But used boats depreciate as well. So don't get too caught up in the only route I have to go is pre-owned.
Let's piggyback a little bit here on David's question. We hit on there a little bit, Scott, used boats, brokerage boats. So let's say that David's looking for this Aquila 36. We've got a 2018 Aquila 36. One is a used MarineMax trade-in. The other is on the brokerage market. At the end of the day, let's call them the same boat, okay? How does that process look different? What is the main difference, all things equal, in the used trade-in market versus the brokerage market working with a broker?
So when MarineMax takes a trade-in that we own, we would typically, survey that boat before we own it. And then we would, any of the items from the survey, especially on a 2018, we would look at outside of normal wear and tear type scratches and items of that sort. We're going to build into our pricing to repair all of those. So we can deliver a used boat that we own as close to what a new boat's like. So, and then the difference, so when we do that, it's going to be really a turnkey type thing. You're going to purchase the boat, and really you're going to show up for your orientation, like with Captain Keith. And then from there, you're going to close and you're going to go enjoy it. Now in a brokerage world, it's a little bit different. You're going to make an offer that then gets submitted through the broker representing you to the actual owner of the boat. And at that point, the negotiations back and forth can start or end right there. And all brokerage contracts are contingent upon a few things. One is acceptable sea trial and survey to an actual buyer. So if David was, for instance, looking for something in the brokerage world in a 36 Aquila 2018, like you mentioned, Nick, what you would have there is he would show up for his survey. He would pay out of his pocket for a engine surveyor. He would also pay for a hull and system surveyor, and then also pay a yard like MarineMax to haul the boat and have the hull and system surveyor check that hull out and make sure it's safe. On a boat we trade, all of that's already taken care of for you. You don't have to go through that or have those out-of-pocket expenses. So those are your main two differences. Then you'll get on a brokerage boat, you'll get those survey results, and then you'll look through them with the broker that's representing you in the sale. And then you guys will do something they call an acceptance of vessel. And a lot of this is very similar to buying a home. And so you'll go ahead and submit an acceptance of vessel through the broker representing you, and then they'll give that to the seller. And if all parties agree on what needs to be done, then the work will begin and you'll take the next step to closing. So real quick snapshot of
I'm back.
Like.
So what's an advantage though of going through a broker versus somebody say, man, I don't want to pay the commissions or this or that. I'm just going to put it in Boat Trader or on, put it out there on the internet or something like that?
Well, the first step is on the buying side, there's no commission to a buyer. So it typically is going to fall all on the seller. So why would a seller pick a broker to sell their boat is, I think, what Captain Key's asking me. And there's a lot of reasons, right? One is this isn't what they do as a career. This isn't what they do for a living. So, they would want to bring somebody in that knows where to market this boat. One of the things that MarineMax brings to the table is a lot of resources all the way across the table. So first, we have a great marketing department that can put this boat out there for us online. We take professional photos of the boat. We field all the phone calls that come in. And what we do is we try to take these customers to the next step and show them the boat and then go into contract. But during that process, we're also, as that customer calls with these questions, we, in the background, can help with financing. We can help with insurance, and we can help them through the whole process where, as you go through the buy owner side of things, a lot of times you don't have all these resources to tap into. So sometimes it may actually cut into what you do on a daily basis as a profession and may cost you more money.
Makes sense.
So there's a lot of brokerage houses out there, Scott, and Mike brings a good question to the table, Mike Dickinson. There are so many companies out there that offer brokerage services. Why should I use MarineMax versus any of those other companies?
Well, one of the strengths of our company that was the vision was to do a north-south connection and grow this company all the way up through the Northeast, out west through Texas. And so today we have approximately 73 stores. So if a customer wants to list, and we'll use this 36 Aquila as an example. And we are all 73 stores. First of all, they get a daily inventory, and they're going to see that this boat is a brokerage boat is on our inventory. Well, these stores all get customers that come through on a daily, weekly, monthly basis looking for a variety of different sizes of, let's say, an Aquila. Well, if we happen to don't have a boat in stock like that, or a customer wants to compare that to something new, at that very moment, take 70 stores and an average of 10 sales guys could possibly be presenting that product without ever going to the internet and seeing it out there. And the customers coming in have the ability to see that. So that's one chain of it that really gives a customer that's selling their boat an advantage to actually work with MarineMax on that side of it. And then on the buying side, we definitely, representing the customer coming in and buying the boat, that's a huge advantage to them as well as the customer selling them.
Yeah, there definitely is quite a bit of reach there. I mean, and you can trust your broker, you can trust your sales guy, whatever it is. I mean, there's how many people in MarineMax's database, as you will, that are all looking for that certain boat. But, a lot of it comes down to, trusting your sales guy, trusting your broker. Scott, when you're picking a broker, if somebody comes to you and they say, hey, I'm looking for an Azimuth S6 or whatever, and I need one used, and I need one with this option and that option, and it needs to come up on the brokerage market. Okay. Somebody comes to you and says that. What are some things when you're looking for a broker? What are some qualities that you're going to want to find?
I think it's someone that's knowledgeable about the product, what the difference between, the 60-foot express market, the 70-foot, and then also the competition that's out there against it. So you can make sure you're guiding them in the right direction. A lot of them also, we do try to bring a commonality of actual options, very similar in a number of our boats, between them. Where it may change a lot would be in colors and things like that. But the nice thing about a customer coming to us and having us help them with something like an S6 or an S7 or a 66 Fly or any of the brands that we carry is we can reach out that, hey, as we trade one, we can absolutely integrate that in as well. And we don't necessarily have to just focus on, hey, I just want something in the brokerage market. So there's a very good chance with 70 plus stores that we could trade something like that. I mean, our volume, we're a $1.5 billion company now. With the size of what we bring to the table, we take a lot of our customers on the average are trading every 18 months. So we take a lot of our boats in trade. And so we have that as well to work with these clients that are, hey, I want to focus on the brokerage market. Well, we may be able to find them something there as well.
Good stuff. Keith, what are your thoughts?
I'm looking here at Jeff Grenier's question about fractional ownership. So from a new boat buyer looking at the 59 Fly Absolute, but in speaking with so many, I'm told to do a fractional share for a few years to make sure before making any type of commitment of owning. What do you know about the fractional share stuff, Scott?
So the fractional share part of the business, I don't think it's ever really gotten any legs to it. I think it's Benetti tried it at one time, had very small success on a 95. I think it's, if you're going to partner with somebody in a boat, I think you better be good friends with them. You better have a very clear understanding when it comes to operating costs, when it comes to how are you going to leave the boat when you're done? How are we going to keep it clean between the two families? How often does one person want to use it to another? So I'm not saying that fractional ownerships don't work, but at the end of the day, we don't have as much experience with that side of the business. So we have looked at a number of times, and we just haven't really found a way to make that work. Now, we've definitely sold boats to partners that they went out and, hey, a friend and I, or hey, I'm looking to spend a couple $1 million on a boat, and a guy I used to do business with would like to split it with me or own 1/3 of it. Well, and so that can kind of fall into a fractional ownership. But I would definitely make sure you know who your partner is in the boat, and they understand the entire scope of the purchase, what it takes to maintain this vessel, and then what it would take to get out of it if you had to sell it.
I wonder why it hasn't exactly taken off in the world of boats and yachts when it's worked with, like, for instance, jets and airplanes and stuff like that, right?
So we have a pretty big charter business out there. So if you really wanted to be in a fractional type thing, a lot of customers have, tried the charter side of things first. And they may go charter a 60-footer or an 80-footer or a 100-footer and see if the family enjoys it, and then possibly then look at owning one of these. So that's kind of been the filler for it, and it's worked out pretty well.
So let's piggyback there off the fractional ownership question, and let's talk about chartering and also charter yacht ownership. If somebody were to buy a boat and they wanted to charter it, whether it's a different location, put it in the Med, put it in the Caribbean, whatever it may be, a lot of people are doing that, right? So what are some benefits, and exactly how confusing is it? And is that something that MarineMax can help with as well?
So due to the size that the company has grown to, we've been very fortunate to really get into the charter side of the business. We, a year ago, purchased Fraser, which is one of the largest in the world for charter. And then recently we purchased another company called Northrop & Johnson. And so that's really given us the tentacles to take our clients and put them into the charter business with the vessels they own. The idea of putting their boats in a charter is to offset some of their operating costs. So, in anywhere from, 70, 80-foot boats up to 300-foot boats, well, their databases reach customers worldwide for charter. So customers coming over from the Med, from Europe and want to charter something in the Bahamas, and they do a family vacation, Fraser or Northrop & Johnson can help with that. But they can also put together a full operating expense for you, along with the first year, what kind of charters they would expect to see for the location you want to keep the boat, and then let you kind of get an idea ahead of time of offsetting that. But on top of, buying a boat and putting it in a charter, one of the big things customers come across is, as the boats get larger, you have to have more crew. So what happens if a captain doesn't work out? What happens if a chef or a steward doesn't work out in the industry? What do we do? Well, we have charter placement programs for crew for that. And so we actually can step in and refer people that we've actually gone through. We've seen their resumes, we've seen their CVs, and can kind of help fulfill that side. So, hey, let's say they have a charter coming up and a mate quits right before it. we have the ability to help with that and get them a mate ASAP and get that charter fulfilled. Because once you're in the charter business, it's not, the customers, to lose a charter is not a great thing.
Right. I mean, those seasons a lot of time can be pretty short, right? I mean, let's say, if somebody buys a 100-foot boat, on average, how many times a year will that boat even be chartered out in the first place? You got to make them count, right?
You do. You have to make them count. The name of the boat gets a reputation out there. The captains and the crew and the chef on a 100-foot boat, they build themselves a solid reputation out there. So typically a customer that'll buy a new 100-foot boat or, and put it in a charter its first year, they're probably on the average looking at 5 or 6 charters to get their first year. But if the crew does a great job and the boat is in outstanding condition, and you can a lot of times get 50% of those charters to come back the next year or the year after. So that will get you more into year 2, year 3. You can see 10 charters to 12 charters a year. And, it's good for the crew too. It keeps them exercised. It keeps them on their game. There's an incentive for them as well, because, as customers do pay the price for a charter that's, 75 to 100 grand, let's just use that as an example. They tip the crew on top of that. So there's an incentive for them as well. So, which works out really good for the owner of the boat.
I mean, it makes sense, right? Especially, not necessarily to look for something that's cash flow positive all the time, but to offset those costs, it's an option anyways.
I don't think a lot of customers buying those larger yachts are looking for a cash flow positive situation. I think they're looking to offset. They understand that this luxury item is going to cost them money to own. But if there's a way that, hey, I'm only on the boat 10 weeks of the year, or whatever it is, can this boat over the remaining weeks of the year, can we charter it out 7 or 8 times? And but there's a lot of benefits to it, to the crew, to the boat, and for them as well, for offsetting operating costs.
Cool. Well, it looks like we got some good questions coming over to the side here. But first, we got a question specifically for Captain Keith from Michael W. How long does MarineMax spend with a new boat purchaser to get them familiar with the boat? And does it vary if you are brokering or purchasing new?
So it's kind of just going to depend on the size of the boat, kind of what the boat is, what your history level is as far as your experience running a boat. A 19 SPX, 21, 23, 24, smaller boats, we may spend an hour or 2 out here just kind of going through things. You get up into some bigger boats where you're dealing with generators and shore power and seakeepers and this and that. It may be a day. You might take the boat home, get used to it for a week or 2. You can call me up and come back out at the house, go through things with you again. It just all kind of depends, but that's like I said, MarineMax here, you, Scott, all of us. Look behind me. We've got all the resources in the world here. So we want to make sure that you're comfortable running your boat. It doesn't do any good to get it home and let it sit in the marina or sit on your lift. So whatever it takes. If it's not making sense for you, give us a call and we're going to make sure that it does. And then as far as make a difference if you're brokering or purchasing new, as far as like what the Clearwater store does here, and I believe most of MarineMax is, so if you're buying new or used, you're going to get a captain's orientation from a MarineMax captain. For the most part, Scott, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the brokerage end of it's probably going to be an independent captain. Occasionally I'll do some, but that kind of falls on I think the new owner getting a captain to help them out, right?
100%. No question about it. So anything that comes through, again, goes back to whatever we own as a company. It's a complete turnkey experience. So in the brokerage world, we have the captains that we can hire to do the training. It's just they are for hire at that point.
Man, what a question we have down there from Robert Weber. And I don't think that there's anybody in the world that is more qualified to answer it than Scott. So we've got Robert asking, can you compare the seaworthiness between the Hatteras M75 and the Azimuth 72 Fly? What are your thoughts between those two to compare and contrast?
So both boats, no doubt, man, bring great seaworthiness to the table. Hatteras, the M75, and the 72 Azimuth. Got plenty of experience with both boats. Hatteras is an extremely long-term type build that's got every one of these boats are so custom, and the way they're stabilized and all that. So a lot of the components throughout these boats, there's no doubt, as far as seaworthiness type it goes. One of the big differences between Hatteras and their construction process is you got a solid fiberglass bottom boat, and Azimuth, along with a lot of other brands, they do a cord type hull. So with that, it's a different construction process at the end. But the 75 Hatteras will weigh more than the 72 Fly Azimuth when it's all said and done. It's a heavy boat. It's not as fast. So you got a boat that a lot of times will cruise in the lower 20 knot type range. And Azimuth has designed and built their boats for speed a little bit more. And so you're going to look at something more in a 26 knot type cruise to a 28 knot cruise. So both of them attack things a little bit differently. And so when the boats are built a little bit lighter, they're going to go a little bit faster too. So both boats are extremely seaworthy. There's no problem there. Just a matter of the weight and the solid fiberglass bottom of a Hatteras. The big difference may be is if you were going to attack some really big large seas or something like that, that particular boat may handle a little bit better.
Everybody knows the name about Hatteras. In today's world, is it mostly a custom boat process? They're not holding any inventory, correct?
Correct. So there's no inventory. If you want to build a 75 or a 90 or any of the sport fish boats, it's all going to start from laying up the hull to going to the next step and going through the entire build process. Hatteras very much is a semi-custom company where you can come in on the motor yachts and really design the interiors to your taste. Hundreds and hundreds of fabrics and so you can really get as detailed as you want. Also, they have we've had the ability I built Hatterases for 18 plus years now, and with that, a customer may be coming out of a smaller boat that really knows what they like to have in their 75 or 90. And so Hatteras can create these things. They can modify their layouts a little bit, change some hallways, modify the bridge arrangements, do a lot of things like that where higher production boats just don't have the ability to do. It just doesn't make sense for them. So
I got you. So while we're on the topic of custom boats here, and we've got some great questions coming in aside, but one thing we haven't hit on so far, Scott, is let's talk about Ocean Alexander a little bit. Let's talk about some of the yachts that they're doing nowadays. Obviously, everybody knows an Ocean Alexander when it's coming down the water, whether it's a 70E or an 85 or whatever, but they've got a new line out. It might be some of the boats like the one behind Keith there, a Divergence, or even their R series. So let's talk about what Ocean Alexander is doing nowadays and kind of what they've nodded to with the more modern models that they're working with as well.
Ocean Alexander and design-wise is starting to really become the benchmark to a lot of the motor yachts in the industry today. They're definitely pioneers in bringing the R series to the table, bringing in a 45 Divergence, which is really strictly a smaller motor yacht style type boat that's in the 45-foot range. But their designs, their layouts, what they're doing is extremely innovative throughout. Huge bow seating on their Revolution series with the vertical bows. We build a 90-footer with 197 gross tonnage in volume of space in something like that. And, in a 90-foot platform, that's a big volume boat that Ocean Alexander figured out how to do in 90 feet. And there's a number of marinas and a number of places where customers, once they start getting close to that 100 feet, they get limited and are able to go into. So Ocean Alexander has the answer for that. But they've also given you a big platform for square footage, which is really nice. But we have a Legend series with Ocean Alexander, and now we have an Expedition series. And at the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show, we introduced the 88 Expedition, which allows you to take a tender and 2 jet skis on the aft end of the boat and take them with you. So again, things that not necessarily so many of the manufacturers are bringing to the table today, where Ocean Alexander is becoming the benchmark to the business.
There's a lot of questions that come through also about Ocean Alexander kind of revamping their lineup here over the past year for, just the different models and stuff. So for instance, the 90R is not the 90R anymore. Were there any changes besides the name to some of those series? Help me out here. What did they replace them with?
So they went to calling all their boats into a meter, so, you got a 28R, you got a 32L for the Legends. So they went to a meter to, I don't know, it probably just gives it another step up in that side of the industry. Ocean Alexander is a brand that's going to continue to grow also. I'm in the process of building a 114, which they will call a 35R for a client, hull number 1 right now. And so this will be an amazing tri-deck vessel in 114 feet. It'll be a 5 stateroom. We also build in the Legend series a 118 that's 5 staterooms. So getting 5 staterooms in a typical traditional hull type look like on the Legend series, very difficult to do and make it work. So OA is always innovating their product. The 90R, the way it started out with hull 1 and hull 2, so many things have changed with that vessel compared to the bridge, compared to the galley. And then also we have sliding doors that are on the back we have hull number 9 getting ready to come in with a door that's going to open up across the back, have a swim platform, and still give you a beach club. So they never let the product sit stale and it's one after the other. There's always changes between almost every single hull, which is really nice for us.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Keith.
I'm just saying they are beautiful. They're just incredible.
Oh yeah, I mean they stay ahead, which is the big thing, and that's one of the big credits to their success. And we've been lucky enough to be with them for almost 7 years now, and take advantage of that.
And you've got a new model right there at your showroom, huh, guys?
Yes. So behind Keith, there's a 45 Ocean Alexander. And so we build that boat in 2 different styles. One that's an open, a single stateroom, kind of a center console design. And then we also build it in a coupe where where it's enclosed with glass and a glass door on the back. And there's 2 staterooms. So heck of a day. I've
got both of those boats here right now. So this one's inside and the coupe is outside in the water.
Absolutely.
So absolutely. You're interested, hit these guys up.
Very successful.
See some questions over to the side. Keith, it looks like we got another one here. I'll let you handle Chad Johnson's question. Don't know if it's the famous football player or not, but I have my 200-ton license. How easy is it to get into the yacht delivery service? What other endorsements do I need?
I'll punt that one back over to Scott there. I mean, because I'm not really in the yacht delivery type, program right here.
So what other endorsements do I need? I mean, to get your 200-ton license, let alone, you've got a lot of endorsements just to get that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're interested in doing yacht deliveries and that, we have a list of captains that we keep on hand. If you get us your CV, your resume, we'll definitely review it. And all of our captains that we use to move boats, any of our product, have all been cleared through our company. So feel free to send us your information, and we'd love to look at your hours and what you bring to the table for us.
Very good. Hey, David Vanderback's got a follow-up question to a previous one. He goes, I had the same question as Michael. Is that included in the price of purchasing a new boat? He's talking about the orientations. Absolutely it is. So if you buy a boat from MarineMax, you're going to get your captain's orientation. You're going to get the Go Boating kit. I mean, your boat's going to come with life jackets, the throw cushion, flares, fenders, dock lines. If you got a chart plotter, that's going to have a chart card in there. We're going to go through that with you. Your anchor I mean, everything you possibly need to go boating, your fire extinguishers, it's all part of it, and the training that you're going to get on that. And then we've got classes that we do periodically. We, follow up with classes. Our getaways program, like I said, the resources here are incredible.
Looks like we got Mike Dickinson again. Looks like he's chiming in from St. Pete, Florida. Why do I have to pay 10% commission in the boating industry, but my house was 6%? Aren't there companies that do less commission? What are your thoughts on that, Scott?
Well, I like to first find out what kind of boat Mike Dickinson owns, so we can look at what he wants to sell. But the boating industry has always been 10%. And are there other houses out there that'll do things for less like that? Our industry has just been a 10% across the board. It's how we've agreed to do it. And so majority of the larger houses that are going to do the most marketing and get your boat out there in front of their customer base, as well as their connections in the business, 10% commission is where that falls. So I would assume there's smaller brokerage houses that I rarely come up against, and that offer less, but it's something that I truly don't come across in my side of the business that often. And he looks like he has a 23 Dauntless to sell. I don't even know what we would charge for that. It may be more than 10% for Mike.
That's awesome. Let's see here. We got a few more minutes. Looks like we have time for a couple more questions. Here we go. Got Michael, just as we were looking for it. Do any of you have advice between a divergence and a 420 outrage for a cruising and fishing boat combo? Good question, Mike.
So no doubt the divergence, we offer a fishing package with that boat. We definitely designed that boat, or OA did it, as a mini yacht and something that's really focuses on the cruising type market more than it does anything else. You can fish out of any of these boats if you really want to, but if you really want to get into hardcore fishing and make that a big part of how you want to own a boat, and I think you got to kind of look at, hey, is it a 50-50 or is it 70% fishing, 30%? It just depends on what you want to do. But if fishing's your main focus, I would tell you the 42 Outrage is definitely going to be the boat that's going to fit that application better.
You also got the 405 Conquest too. You could look at too. That one now they put the tower on, just beautiful boat.
Oh, they are putting a tower on it now?
Yeah, man. It was at Sarasota. You guys didn't make it down there a couple of weeks ago.
No.
Yeah, the outboard industry is completely changing all the way around, right? I mean, from our Sea Ray line to the Boston Whalers always had it, to building a divergence. With instead of building something like this with inboards or IOs, we're building these things with outboards now. So, the 42 Outrage would definitely would fit more of a fishing type if that's where your focus is. But it also gives you the pleasure side and the comfort side for those family days out as well. That's one of the good spots that Whaler really hits on so well.
Yeah, I think it's all just going to come down to what kind of boating you plan on doing.
No question.
And thanks for watching, Mike. We appreciate your questions every week. So we appreciate you very much. Had another question come in here from the text hotline that says, why are there often different buying and selling brokers? So elaborate on that a little bit here, Scott, between, the two different types of brokers in a deal. Usually.
Well, what you may do is find a broker that you enjoy working with. It could be somebody that you've done business with, new and used. And they decide that they would like to, as they get a little bit larger, want to go look at something on the brokerage market, but they would like you to still represent them. So that would be one reason to have, hey, I've got a broker that's going to represent me no matter who has this particular boat for sale. So that's one answer to that. And then you have a listing side where, hey, a customer wants to put their boat up for sale, and I may have sold them that boat. So they would like to, since I know that boat and maybe I've sold it to them, or I've proven to them, I didn't sell it to them, and I've proven to them that I'm the right person to help them sell it. I then become the listing broker on that. So in a lot of deals, you have a listing broker and then a selling broker come to the table. And then again, in a lot of our deals too, we'll have the listing broker will sell that boat as well. So that's kind of the reason you have it out there in the industry.
Cool. Well, before we get going here, obviously everybody's going to be so busy over the holidays. You got any trips planned to any of the factories, Scott, whether that's Hatteras or the Ocean Alexander plant? I know you have a lot of boats on order.
Yeah, so Ocean Alexander's been a little challenging for us to get to right now because you got to quarantine for 14 days there when you arrive. So that's been a place that the customer we're building this 35 meter for is really wishes they could go to the factory and see this boat being done. But we're over a year into the project. So due to COVID, it's been difficult for that. So
just for people that are not sure, where is the factory and what's it like over there?
So it's in Taiwan. There's a lot of boat factories in Taiwan. This Ocean Alexander owns their own factory. Only Ocean Alexanders get built in it. And so it's we build, everything from 45 feet up to, 114, 118 to 120 feet in that factory. So we use interior designers that help us with this. Evan Marshall is a company out of London that gets very, very involved in the entire design to the decor of builds and to new product coming in the market. So the Ocean Alexander team's very smart. They utilize a lot of the best resources in the industry to stay as that benchmark that's out there. So, but as far as getting other factories, Hatteras, was just up at Hatteras the other day with a customer of mine that we're finishing up a GT 59 Sportfish. So it was nice to go up there and see that boat. It was going into paint. So we had a chance to see it before it went into the paint booth. But it's been great to be able to see, go to still a few boat factories that are in the US.
I just had a text come in also that's going to tail off of that question as well, Scott. And there's a lot of boats that are in inventory or on a brokerage market that exist. But when you go the route of a pure fresh build, what's the timeline of that process from start to finish? How much time is somebody usually investing in, say, a boat over 80 feet?
So it depends. There's two ways to answer that question. One, it depends on the manufacturer. Okay. And then it depends on, how the amount of employees they have and them building the product. So if I was going to build a 90-foot Hatteras, for example, it's probably about a 1.5 years build to get that done right now. And then if I was going to build a 90 Ocean Alexander, it's probably closer to a year build. The 35 meter that I'm in the process of building, that boat will be about a 1.5 years when we're all done. So, that's kind of the process. It really depends on size, and it really depends on like our 70 OAs, that was probably more of an 8-month type build. So to answer that question correctly, it really has to do with the size of the boat. And then, as these yachts get larger too, Benetti line and products like that, when we start getting to 140, 160 footers and up, these can be 2 or 3 year builds. So it's an experience that I hope a lot of people get to go through, because I truly enjoy it with the customers, and it's a lot of fun to truly build a yacht.
It's like a blank canvas, right? Especially with these custom manufacturers.
Yep, no question. You can do a lot.
How can people get hold of you, Scott?
So 2 ways. My cell phone is 727-638-7890. And then my email address is Scott, and then a period and an R. So scott.r@marinemax.com. And anyone that has any interest in anything we've talked about today, or wants some more details on brokerage or new boats or building larger boats or whatever it may be, feel free. Give me a call, shoot me an email. I look forward to answering anything.
Yeah, I'll ask the man behind the curtain that's controlling the MarineMax's website if you could drop Scott's information in the comments so everybody can see it on Facebook and YouTube. He's the man to go to. He's the man I go to for yachts, and there's not much that he can't answer. So you guys got anything else you want to add before we sign off here?
I just David said thanks, Captain Keith, for our time here. So thank you for your time, and thank you for everybody that's joins us each week. Time's valuable, and we sincerely appreciate it.
The one thing I'll add to end the call with everyone is the as customers are talking to other dealers, also that's a big part of why should I do business with MarineMax, and having the ability to be part of this company for 28 years, we have tremendous amount of resources to help our customers from the smallest boats to the largest boats. And it's something where you can join the family at any size range, and we can take care of you for the next 20 plus years. So we've got all the resources to do it today, from, like we talked about, charter to financing to we own our own insurance company now. We've got a great management team that's continuously getting us new product, the best product that's out there in the world that we don't even know is out there yet. It's just it's a great place to come and look at and talk to our team and give us the opportunity.
Well, good stuff. Well, we're all excited to be part of this team, and hopefully one day all of our paths cross and we can get you on the water one way or another. So I want to wish everybody a happy holiday season. I don't know if we're going to have another episode before then. Scott, thank you so much for joining us. I see that you're busy decorating a Christmas tree, so we'll let you get back to that. And
looks good.
Once again, thank you. So
just about done with it. Thank you guys. A lot of fun.
Good job.
That's right. Well, Nick, thanks for the opportunity, and we appreciate everyone's time.
Captain Keith, you want to sign us off?
I think Scott did it better than anybody's ever done, but just happy holidays, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you out on the water.
Yes, Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, podcast, which is going to be on Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Play, and iHeartRadio now. That's a new one that we joined. So we're all on iHeartRadio. So go ahead, stream us, download us, and thanks for joining.
Thank you.